On this episode of System Integrators Weekly, we're committing career suicide by disagreeing with Gamers Nexus on the internet. All that and more on this potentially final episode of System Integrators Weekly.
Let's go, nerds!
Hello everyone, I'm Breathorn. Welcome to System Integrators Weekly. What may be the end of System Integrators Weekly, because I'll tell you, the internet does not like it when you disagree with Gamers Nexus. And honestly, I can kind of understand, because they do their research, their methods are thorough, and their work is excellent. Like, it's beyond reproach. Or is it? So since this channel is reaching its end, we need to make every dollar as we can as the ship sinks. We will play the violin with our quartet. And our violin is a sponsor spot for CDKdeals. CDKdeals is an online marketplace that offers game keys for several different platforms and genuine software licenses at drastically reduced prices. You can even use code BRAY25 to get an additional 30% off. Here's how it works. Here we have an OEM license for Windows 10 Pro. Of course, all Windows 10 Home and Pro keys can be later upgraded to Windows 11 at no charge. Keep in mind that you'll need a new key if you build a new system or make major hardware changes. OEM keys cannot be used to upgrade from Windows 10 Home to Pro, so make sure you know which version you have installed. Here in the cart, you can use code BRAY25 to get an additional 30% off. So an OEM copy of Windows 10 Pro will drop from $22.72 to just $15.90. After your purchase is complete, click View Keys/Codes, click Get the Key, and copy it. Then go to your Windows search bar, type out Activate, and click Activation Settings. My Windows install is already activated, so I'll be replacing it, but yours should just say Activate Windows. Paste in the key, click Activate, and you're done. Thank you, CDKdeals, for continuing to support the channel. To be honest, no one's work should be beyond reproach. And if you hold someone in such high regard, you shouldn't hold them to a lower standard, you should hold them to a higher standard. That's how we should treat anyone that we look up to. Now, that's a lot of pressure. However, Gamers Nexus has risen to that pressure, and they have consistently kept a consumer-first, consumer advocacy approach, and that is something I have always stood behind. I love Gamers Nexus. I support Gamers Nexus. This is but one of the many things that I've purchased from them to support their efforts in consumer advocacy and keeping companies in line when they are far out of that line. What exactly spurred on this video, and why is Breathorn disagreeing with Gamers Nexus? Well, for those of you who've been watching this series for a long time, you know that I've taken a few issues with the way that they've covered system integrators. Now, not disputing what they have physically been able to show you in buying PCs from system integrators, but perhaps some of the methods or conclusions that they've come to through that. And what spurred this particular video on is the fact that I recently had the absolute delight of getting idols in tech YouTube, my idol in tech YouTube, Steve Burke of Gamers Nexus. And even though it was Gamers Nexus was the name of the channel, the account that was replying or commenting on my video, it had the tone of Steve commenting. I'm fairly certain he does that on my recent video, which was my interview with Rob Teller, which was one of my favorite interviews, and I'm certain it's going to shape the way that I perform interviews from here on out. It's an absolute blast. Rob is super interesting, which I highly suggest you check out. It was an amazing interview. We cut literally nothing out except for when we had to take a break from filming because it was a 30-minute limit on the Canon camera. We had to stop and then start right up. And then there was a banana with maracas walking by. I'm not joking, that was an actual interruption. It was very loud and precocious, that banana. So, of course, Steve knows Rob, and I'm guessing that's what brought this to his attention, and he checked out the interview and he commented. And the first part of it was actually really complimentary and positive. Then there was a second part. So let's take a look at those. So here's the comment, and I know I'm probably making too big of a deal out of this. I'm not trying to be cringe here. It's seriously, it's one of my heroes actually coming in and saying, "Hey, I liked this thing that you did." Okay, it's gonna happen. So Steve said, great interview with Rob. I like talking with Rob and I've learned a lot from his views on the industry. It's cool that you sat down with him to run through the questions. Haven't seen this channel before, but the questions were interesting and fielded well. Like that was like, he's complimenting my interviewing skills. He goes on to say, I've been working with Rob since before we even were really doing the YouTube channel, so I've seen what he's built over the years. My favorite part about this was knowing that they had a personal relationship and had known each other for a long time, yet Rob could send, they could send something over to Steve and Steve could be completely open and honest about the product without letting this previous relationship get in the way. And this is one of the things I absolutely admire about Steve and the way he does things. Now, just to give you some context before I get into this, Gamers Nexus, if you haven't been following along, has been doing a series of Secret Shopper reviews, which is literally the best way to review a product. Secret Shopper reviews of pre-built PCs, be they from OEMs or system integrators or third-party retailers selling systems from system integrators. And the series is, there are now 21 videos in this series. And this series is what I was addressing when in the interview with Rob, I brought up that, hey, I made sort of an offhand comment saying, that the reviews from Gamers Nexus were typically fairly negative, and if anyone wants, to see what they should buy, that they can come and check out my content, which was just a shameless plug for myself. And it was, honestly, I should have qualified the statement or given some context. It was a way to close out the interview, basically. Of course, you got to plug something. It was incorrect in the sense that they have had some positive reviews and said there were some systems that they could relatively recommend. That's glowing praise from Gamers Nexus. They're pretty staunch on certain things, and pre-built PCs is one of them. So here's what Steve had to say in regards to that, and this is what helps me believe that this truly was Steve writing the comment. Small correction: we actually did buy directly from iBUYPOWER like 3 times, and the results were just as bad. I've been reviewing their PCs for almost 10 years now. And the ones we bought on Amazon were also iBUYPOWER systems. One of the worst systems was bought at Best Buy, sold to Best Buy by iBUYPOWER directly, which is the same as buying from their website as far as a consumer is concerned. It ultimately doesn't matter what seller sells the system, it just matters that the system sucks and they should do better. As for recommending good ones, we normally do name the Skytech, Main Gear, and AVS systems that we liked in the videos critical of their competitors. And this is true. When they review a system that is terrible, they'll say, don't buy this. We do recommend these 3 options. My reply went thusly. Hey, I'm stoked to hear that you enjoyed the video. Rob is an incredibly interesting individual, so I didn't have to do much to make the interview a good one. This is not, I'm not self-deprecating here. It was just a great conversation because he's just great to talk to. I think the casual format is something I want to replicate in future interviews. Then I said, because I was really feeling this, I was to the moon, having gotten that comment from Steve. I'll try my best not to go all rabid fanboy on you. Suffice to say that I love what you guys do, and it's inspired me tremendously. And then it was time to address the kind of elephant in the room there, as far as I was concerned. As for my comments about your pre-built coverage, I didn't really take the time to give much context to my statements like I should have. Honestly, I could have worded that better to say I didn't qualify my statements as I should have, or I didn't explain it properly. I do appreciate the investment you guys make in secret shopping SIs, something I can't afford to do yet. If you check out the review of the iBUYPOWER Ready system I did a while back, I didn't hesitate to criticize the restricted airflow and other shortcomings, which you can check out right there. Probably. Might be that side. Who even knows these days? My content focuses on helping those new to PCs find better pre-builts. And as my channel progresses, I'll be focusing more on showing how to make improvements to them. Speaking of SIs, I plan on playing, this was shortly after the Phoenix PCs episode last Sunday, so, and I know that he is, and one of the things I've loved about some of the recent videos is they covered very thoroughly the situation that the former Artesian Builds employees were in after they were fired, and he was deeply invested in helping them be placed somewhere else. However, they decided, some of them decided to stick together, start their own company, Phoenix PCs. Check out the video from last Sunday. Speaking of SIs, I plan on paying a visit to Phoenix PC to help tell the story of the former AB employees launching their own company. They're an awesome group of passionate and skilled builders, and I was happy to see you covering their story early on. I know you're likely well aware of the recent developments. I just thought I'd mention it. Exciting stuff. So it was kind of that was an emotional roller coaster, basically, reading that comment, where it was like, oh my God, he complimented me. He's hurt, now he's seen my channel. Holy crap. Wait, none of my other content is like this video. Oh, and this video isn't getting many views because I'm not known for tech journalism or interviews yet. Oh, whereas my System Integrator Weekly videos, like this one, usually do well. I'm not sure how this one's gonna do because it's what I'm doing now. This is the things I'm saying now and what I'm doing. I'm not exactly providing you with great options for pre-builts, but know that I have over a year's worth of weekly videos talking about pre-builts, and of course the more recent ones will be the more relevant ones to you. So that's what this is. This is me explaining myself and with a few examples basically, and sort of showing my thought process. And you know, in the same vein that Gamers Nexus can look at a pre-built PC and make suggestions and say, hey, this is something that can be improved, I'm hoping that maybe I can do the same thing. Yes, I am. It's a bit of a conceit to look at a bigger channel than me and say, hey, I think this could be improved. But it's my opinion. And I hope they would be open to that. I feel like they would. As a matter of fact, I feel like they definitely would be. Because I'm not just out here saying, oh, this sucks and I disagree. I'm actually going to be here and I'm going to say, hey, here's my case for this. Here's why I think this way. And here's the some kind of basis for my point of view. I know what I'm going to get from the internet, though. Hi, internet. I'm Braethorn. I have opinions sometimes. That's not that bad of a thing, but there have been times when y'all have thought that it's a pretty bad thing. This series has been running from Gamers Nexus for a long time. And about as long as my series, System Integrators Weekly, which, you know, has been running for a little over a year now. And in those times when I've said something like reacting to a Gamers Nexus video, I've gotten some colorful comments about that, about me daring to disagree with the great Steve Burke, which is a person, you understand, guys, right? Like, he's a dude. He's a very, very smart dude who's very well versed in the industry, and he knows what the hell he's talking about. But I can still disagree with him, except that the internet doesn't really want me to. Yeah, throwing shade at Steve from Gamers Nexus is a good idea. He explains exactly what he's doing and why. He certainly wouldn't offer an opinion on a purchase by viewing their website. Okay, let's unpack this real quick. So first off, if I have what I feel is a valid concern or a valid criticism, and I express that is not throwing shade. It's not an insult. It's saying, hey, you know, I don't really agree with that. That's not throwing shade. You do know that other large tech YouTubers have disagreed with Steve before. In fact, Jay of Jay's 2 Cents will say, you know, Steve and I don't see eye to eye on everything. Oh no, cancel Jay. It happens, guys, between individual people. You're a people and I'm a people too. We don't agree on everything. That's how it works. Now, the other thing is he explains exactly what he's doing and why. That's true. It's also what I do. I explain exactly what I'm doing. I explain why I suggest something and why, even though I'm just viewing their website, I feel like this might be a good option. I'm not out here giving financial advice or telling someone, you got to go buy this. I'm saying, this looks like a good deal. Or here's why I feel this company can put out a good product. I have my own resources too, by the way. We have a 2,700 person strong Discord that has grown over time. And that Discord grew because of my show about pre-builts, system integrators, and custom PCs. And so the vast majority of them have purchased a pre-built and then shared their experience. I also, although I can't afford to secret shop very often, or at all, this all started with me basically secret shopping iBUYPOWER and having a good experience. Mind-blowing, right? So what I did was I took that experience and it shaped my recommendations. You know what, we'll talk about this in the iBUYPOWER section of this video, which of course I will split these up, and iBUYPOWER is kind of the big one, so that's going to be the last one I talk about. But yeah, I view websites and I make determinations based off of that, but it's not all I'm looking at. I'm looking at a system integrator's reputation, how they have treated members of my community, experiences that they've had, and if there was a problem, how did they respond to that? And when it comes to computers too, you can generally look at a case and have somewhat of an idea of whether it has good airflow. Look at the list of components that are listed on there. If it's a reputable site, that's what you should get, and whether that's going to be an optimal system or not. That's why PCs are good. So this person straight up came to my video and said, don't believe this guy. Okay? He just said, don't believe this person. Here's a comment. Don't believe it. I believe Gamers Nexus, as he is always telling the truth and not selling out and taking free PCs in exchange for good reviews. This was 1 year ago. My channel was way smaller than it is now, and I had not gotten a free PC or anything. Why would the packing material and instructions not be in the PC box just because a third party bought and sold it to him? Did they open it, rip out the packaging, take the instructions, kick it around and close it and sell it again? Yeah, not buying it. Except for the fact that that's literally what happened. Steve bought a system that didn't have Instapack in it and had no hard printed instructions, no hard copies of the instructions. However, I literally have a video of my same day ready system where that is exactly what I got. That's literally what I got. It was different. Hard copy instructions right there and Instapack inside the case protecting the GPU. What am I supposed to say? I had a different experience than what Steve had. What do you want from me? We will get more into the iBUYPOWER thing later on. Just trust me on this. There's a lot to it. And I'm not just making stuff up. It's been reported to me many times, so we will get to that. Now, as for taking free PCs in exchange for good reviews, that's not what I do. I have been given a PC before, by the way, and I was open about that. I was like, hey, Skytech's given this to me. I get to keep it. However, they didn't pay me for the video, and they don't get to see it before I'm done, and they don't get to tell me what I'm gonna say on it. And guess what I did? I have like a half-hour review up for that system where I say the pros and I say the negatives, and I did not hold back. Guys, Skytech loved that video. They wanted exactly that. They wanted me to look at it and say, what's wrong with this thing? What can be improved? People who've been watching my content for a while now will already know this, but if you're new here, let me tell you this now. And you can go back and check the receipts. I will never alter my content based on a free product. I will never alter my content to get in a company's good graces. Check my iBUYPOWER review where I said, hey, this thing's getting pretty, it's doing pretty well. Here's where they can improve it. And I will never let a system integrator sponsor System Integrators Weekly. Now that might seem weird that I'm bringing that up because it's never happened before. Let me tell you, they've tried. One of the shadier ones has tried. I don't talk about them anymore. And there's a reason for that. Let's actually get into this. And we're gonna go through through a few of these reviews just to say my notes on it real quick, okay? So the first one I wanna talk about is the Skytech review. And this one, I agree with. I like Skytech. I've worked with them before. And Gamers Nexus has said, hey, you know what?
The Skytech Chronos does in fact get the It's Better Than Dell award, but it also gets the, yeah, we can recommend this relatively.
So that right there counts for glowing praise from Gamers Nexus. Yeah, we could recommend this. That's a huge deal for them to say we would recommend a PC. And they did say, hey, there's some shortcomings here. A lot of it had to do with the market at the time and how things were marked up. Prices have improved, more or less. And yeah, so Skytech, yeah, that one, totally cool. Now, it's a little different for the Build Redux review. Now, to be fair, Build Redux does have their good, better, and best options on their site. Now, the good, better, and best is for your budget. Okay, it kind of shows you, hey, if your budget's around here, this is kind of what you expect. And at this point, of course, it's been a while, and even the good option has changed quite a bit. However, this is not, I can tell you, where Build Redux shines. Not whatsoever. Build Redux has this thing where they have a very simple setup. Okay, you have some customization options, but not many. So there's only this case, which is kind of a mid-tier case, a little higher than that, over a $100 case generally, but they have it listed for $99. So looking at this, you'll see some options that you cannot change. You can't change the motherboard. You can't customize the power supply. You can't really do much with the RAM other than choosing 16 or 32 gigs. You can't, as in, you get certain frequencies, whatever frequency, it matches the processor that you choose. It's really weird. And the motherboard changes with the processor, and like if you get a 12400F, you get a B660M, micro ATX motherboard. But if you go with a higher end processor, you get a higher end motherboard. It is pretty locked in. This is not where Build Redux shines, because this would be much cheaper if you had a cheaper case with fewer fans. And I mean, you don't really need to go with anything other than a $70 case or so for a system like this. You certainly don't need a 700 watt power supply to run a 12400F or 12100F and a 3050, but that's what you get. Let me show you where they shine. Start with better. By default, with better, you're gonna get, well, still 12400F, but you get a 3070. Well, that's fine. The 12400F can do quite a bit when it comes to gaming. You get a B660M, but if you change your processor, this actually isn't a very good, I don't even like this one very much. But now you can go up to the 12600K, but I wouldn't recommend that, because even with the 12600K being an unlocked processor, they keep you on the B660M for some reason. Now, there are things to be said for sticking with a 12600K rather than a 12600 non-K SKU. You get your efficiency cores and all that, and that can't help even on locked motherboard. However, I would go 12700K here. And around the $2,000 mark is where you're starting to get, or $2195 mark, is where you're getting the real value from Build Redux. This is where you start to get the Z690 motherboard, okay? 850 watt power supply. For a 3070, that's 200 watts above the listed recommended power supply for a 3070. However, 12700K. It can be fairly demanding on power for however long it wants. You can go 16 gigs of RAM, 32 gigs of RAM, whatever. You can upgrade that. It's not super expensive to do so, and you're getting a 240 millimeter all-in-one liquid cooler. The thing is, they also have pretty good pricing on their GPUs. So if you were to go, what I recommend, if you want to get like a top spec gaming PC, 12700K, 3080 Ti, all you need right there. That's if you're wanting to get into 4K gaming and yada, yada, yada. This is where they shine, not on the lower end. And that's where I sort of took issue. And here's why. The way that GN will approach a review like this is like hey, this is the one system from this system integrator, one or two. In the case of iBUYPOWER, they've done more than one. This is a system that we're gonna review from them. And it's not good, forget these guys. Is how it comes across, whether that's intended or not. Whereas my approach personally is to say, well, let's figure out what they're good at. And when I figure out what a system integrator is good at, uniquely good at, what they offer, what they can really offer in comparison to their competitors or contemporaries in the field, in the industry, those are the things I consider when someone says, hey, this is what I want to do. This is what I prioritize. And I can sort of sift through what I've gleaned over the, year plus that I've been doing this. And of course, just my experience as just being a PC nerd and an IT guy for a very long time, and say, you know what? This is probably the best option for you. It's something I would consider. I would rather not write off an entire company based on one product. That's, to me, a little short-sighted, but also GN is literally buying PCs, and they can't buy a whole lineup of PCs, which is where my approach, which is forced on me by not being able to secret shop, is, I think, has a little bit of an advantage, where I'm like really sort of scoping them out and seeing where their strengths and weaknesses are. The weaknesses here is a lack of customization, and certain parts they lock you into are not optimal, but it works for Build Redux, and there were a lot of people who bought into Build Redux in our community and have been perfectly happy with it. This one right here is a tough one for me personally.
What is... Oh, gross. That cable's really gouged. That is bizarre. What the I'm relatively impressed. We're back with pre-built reviews, and in our first round of a pre-built roundup, we had 3 systems. Our goal for that set of systems was to find one that we could reasonably recommend for our own friends and family that would hopefully help those of you who act as IT in your own groups, or just as a system for when you can't get a GPU standalone. Unfortunately, we had to lower our standards. Well, that sounds good. Wow, that's crazy. Why? Dell, what the actual between the first round of 3 systems and this round of 3 systems? The standards have now been reduced to is capable of turning on without a problem. That's what we're looking for now. So we're starting with the ABS system.
So ABS, if you don't know who they are, they're the in-house system integrator for Newegg. And you can imagine why that gives me reason for pause there. It is plainly stated in the GN review of this that, hey, this is actually a pretty good system, as long as you never need any kind of support or RMA from Newegg. that's a pretty big caveat. However, that caveat has not kept Steve from repeatedly recommending them. And but it's Newegg. Like, it's one of those things where there's this like, how I don't understand how can you recommend them when you have had this situation with Newegg and not turn around and say, you know what, we're not going to recommend ABS anymore. But after after Newegg literally screwed us out of $500 on this motherboard, and then of course the follow-up amazing video where they flew out there and freaking, you know, basically had them pegged down in their own boardroom saying, all right, you're going to answer our questions now. And it was all corporate answer, corporate answer, corporate answer. And I was like, oh my God, these guys don't get it. So Newegg right now is probably on their best behavior, at least for the last 10 years or so, because of the coverage by Steve. They've been doing RMAs, they've been taking care of a backlog of customers that got screwed over. And now, if you're going to buy anything from Newegg, now is probably the time to do it, as long as you don't mind the fact that they're probably going to go back to those same exact practices in a year or 2. There seems to be a disconnect there that I'm having trouble understanding. So, I mean, I personally don't recommend ABS because you can only get them from Newegg, and to me, that's kind of a deal breaker. Now, if you want to get a component or 2 from Newegg because you can't get it anywhere else, I can't fault you for that. At that point, they're not using you, you're kind of using them. But when it comes to a full system and one needing to get support for that or an RMA done, God forbid, I just don't trust it. When people come to me and say, hey, I've saved up this money and I want you to help me figure out where to spend it, that is a huge responsibility that I take very seriously. You know, that's huge. It's a huge deal. And though I've been doing this for over a year, where I've had a lot of people doing that, I always took it seriously, even when it was just my friends. But now that it's thousands of people, literally, I cannot not take that seriously. We're getting to the big one here, all right? And this is the one where Steve basically said, like, no, they're bad, and they should do better, which that does give me some hope. But we do need to talk about sort of some of the things that were said about iBUYPOWER here. So there is literally, like, and technically, there's technically a difference from the systems that are sold en masse to third-party retailers, like by the pallet, and the systems that are sold individually by a system integrator. Okay, this is not something that I am guessing. This is actually something I've had confirmed for me. And Steve was very careful to say here that it's the same as buying from their website as far as the consumer is concerned, which, I don't know. I'm not trying to take implications from that or interpret from it. It's pretty straightforward. But I'm guessing that it's because of a lack of maybe awareness of that, or not knowing that, hey, this thing is going to be packaged slightly differently, or it's going to, I mean, you look at the box that an iBUYPOWER system is shipped in, the plain cardboard box, and you look at the one you get when you buy it from, they're different box. Well, that's box within a box when you have it shipped individually. And if you buy it directly from a retailer, it's just the actual box for the case. Like that's a difference. There's a difference there. go look at my unboxing. I know that there's a thing that that Steve says, and that unboxings are ridiculous. I politely disagree in this context, because when it comes to unboxing a PC, that is critical. Knowing the care that a company takes to box a product when it's going to be a delicate electronic device that will be shipped to you with parts that could come loose inside, that is important, which is why I do live unboxings whenever I get a PC from a system integrator. It was boxed differently than what you get from a retailer. I think that that would be noticeable even for a consumer if they were to buy 2 PCs, which they generally don't do at once. You guys generally don't buy 2 PCs at once. There are some exceptions to that. Saying, no, as far as the consumer is concerned, it's the same thing. Well, that's where we come in, right? That's our job. Our job is to not just provide consumer advocacy and advocate for the consumer, but to educate consumers. Like that became something that became very important to me. So let's talk about the 2 videos that were posted by Gamers Nexus and why I was pretty well. Oh, by the way, the Alienware one, awesome video. Alienware sucks. Do not buy into it. Okay, so we're gonna talk about, first off, the first one that came out was this one. Worst so far, iBUYPOWER Prebuilt Gaming PC Slate MR1004 review.
Well, that sounds good. Wow, that's crazy. What is it? Assembled from tested components, complete system not tested. No, you don't say. So that's supposed to have a screw in it. The motherboard's not even in. HDMI completely obstructed. USB is unusable here. A couple weeks ago, we set forth on a quest to find a pre-built gaming PC that can actually be used out of box by anybody, and that provides overall good value, but more importantly, is built well and runs as it should out of box. Thus far, we haven't found one. And now iBUYPOWER is here to change all of that by getting a super F. There's no greater F that can be received in grading than what iBUYPOWER has managed to get here.
So the review didn't go well. There's one thing, at one point in this review, near the end of it, he says that we bought it retail. It's not really clear and not made clear where it was bought at retail. I took that to mean a retailer rather than direct from iBUYPOWER. However, that particular case, you can get that one from iBUYPOWER. The second one they did, you don't see that small element mini case, whatever it's called. You don't see that one on iBUYPOWER's site in their ready-to-ship systems. You don't see that. And I'll also get into why I keep talking about the ready-to-ship systems and not their customizer, which can also be good, but has its flaws for sure. This PC had a lot of problems. And but the thing that stood out to me glaringly was the fact that it did not have Instapack holding everything together, and the fact that it was shipped without any hard copy of instructions on how to get it set up. Now, why does that stand out to me so glaringly? Well, that's because that's not how iBUYPOWER ships their systems, as far as I know, if it's direct from them. And this was posted in May 29th, 2021. I bought mine from iBUYPOWER's list of ready to ship systems, December 8th, 2020. So it's not that they changed their practices. I don't feel like this one was purchased from that list of ready systems, because I don't know why there would be such a disparity. I know mine is more expensive, and I'm not saying, well, there's no way, they're lying if they said. They didn't say whether they bought that one directly from iBUYPOWER or not. They did say that they tried to get support from iBUYPOWER in mid-year 2021, and I'm not sure if that's when the labor issues started happening over there. I know that there was, I believe there was at some point only one person responding to emails for the entire company, for the largest system integrator in North America. That's kind of tough. There should be something in place for people to get a response, and they didn't get a response for a week. The thing is, when I expressed a concern with a dented side panel and a chipped glass panel, I did get a response within a week. But other than that, the system was great. So it started to create this sort of like, I see iBUYPOWER, and I was getting this cognitive dissonance there because of how much I hold Gamers Nexus in high esteem. And I'm like, I mean, are they bad? No, it can't be. This is a different experience. And it's where I really solidified the thing that I tell you guys now. and I am very vocal about this, okay? Buy direct from the system integrator. There is a difference. So yeah, as far as consumers are concerned, well, consumer concerns are our concern, and the way that their awareness, it is our job, it is our duty to bring their awareness to certain things. Guys, and you know, for regular viewers out there, I know it's like I'm talking to Steve here, and he's probably never gonna watch this, and that's totally fine. I'm not trying to do that thing where like your parents are talking like you're not in the room. That's not, I'm not trying to do that. It's just sort of, this is an open letter to Gamers Nexus, and I'm bringing you guys along for the ride. I'm sorry about that. That was my feelings on the first one. And that was a terrible PC. It was a terrible situation. The part choices were bad, and yeah, they should have felt bad about that one. Whether that one, now, I do have a contact at iBUYPOWER. In the second iBUYPOWER video that GN posted, which we'll get to in a second, he mentioned that, because he has contact, of course, with them too, duh, Steve, that they were going to be putting into practice new quality control procedures. They saw the video, of course, and they paid attention, and they're like, we're gonna fix our quality control issues that led to the issues that you had there. Awesome. That takes some time, but that's kind of half of the benefit of making videos like that. Is you're bringing awareness to the company. Like, hey, this needs fixing. Like, are you guys aware of this? And there's sometimes where they'll be like, we were not aware of that. The people who are in charge of setting up procedures don't always see the results of those procedures if things are, you know, a little bit too separated. Think about it this way. If you watch the Secret Shopper series from LinusTechTips and Linus Media Group, they take a very different approach when it comes to reviewing system integrators, and they do a thorough secret shop and make it a series, but all of them are purchased directly from the system integrator, putting all of it into their hands, including calling in to get help on picking out a PC, and then making sure what you get is actually the same, seeing how long it takes, seeing what value you get for the price you pay, keeping everything to a specific budget, which is, I think, more fair than pitting a $700 PC versus a $5,000 one. You see what I'm getting at? It made it to where everyone was on an even playing field. And it wasn't quite as scattershot of an approach. By the way, you may be interested in who won those Secret Shopper videos, series. It was iBUYPOWER, oddly enough. Twice in a row.
Now it's time to crown a winner. For the second time in a row, iBUYPOWER is taking home the prize. When we last secret shopped them, their tech support was a bit of a nightmare, and it's definitely improved. They technically didn't get our system booted during the call, but they at least diagnosed the problems, and they offered us an RMA to get them fixed. And just like last time, it's very hard to find fault with their recommended config for the money.
They've done it twice. They've done that series twice, and both times, iBUYPOWER was at the top. Isn't that weird? How is it that they did so well when on an even footing with every other company, yet for Gamers Nexus videos, they're doing poorly? I'm wondering why so many people don't ask themselves that question. Why don't you ask yourselves that question? When one is bad, it does not make all of those products bad. It can bring to light some bad practices, and you guys going into so much detail on the intricacies of the build process and where they failed and where they could have improved. And of course, you know, you both LTT and Gamers Net, you guys covered the support and where there might be lack thereof. It's just, of course, different channels are going to cover stuff differently. It's just, how could there be such a disparity in the results? How could there be possibly such a huge disparity in the results? Well, what I think would have been a better way to approach this, because I definitely went off track there, would be to say, hey, they said they're going to put in these new quality control processes. Let's check up on that. Let's give them 4 or 5 months, and then get a system from them or whatever. Because when you buy third-party retailer, that system could have been in a warehouse for a year. Who knows? Once they send it out into the world, in whatever state they sent it out in, which of course they said themselves they're going to improve, it's like you don't know when that system would have been built. You don't know when you're going to get it until you get the thing, and then you can kind of suss that out. So that to me, that right there, when instead of doing that, you found admittedly good content elsewhere. But it was another iBUYPOWER video about another budget system. And it was like, wow, we saw these specs and we were like, we have to buy this. Like that, I totally understand. But I'm still waiting to see the one where you're actually verifying, validating, and seeing what they're doing about the information you provided them, whether they're taking it to heart or not, from your perspective. Because I already know. I already have word from them based on that video. Like why that system existed in the first place, the fact that it hadn't been built since April of 2021, and your video was in what, October of 2021? And the fact that they will not, and since then, they have not built and will not be building any systems with a GT 730. Like that's over. It's not a thing anymore. The relevance of that video is useful if we keep telling people, hey, go to third-party retailers to buy your gaming PC. I don't tell people that. Now, do I think all those PCs should be in a landfill? No. I'm sad that they exist. And I think your rescue efforts for all the 3600s would be great. Costly, but good intentioned. But, you know, it's our job to bring awareness to this kind of stuff. And you guys are doing a great job of saying not to buy this. But on many of those ones where you recommended not buying it, there are other options from those system integrators where it's like, this would have been better. And it could have been a matter of an additional 5 minutes to the video to say, you might want to take a look at this one here. We can't obviously recommend it because we didn't buy that one, but there are better options on this site than this piece of garbage that we just reviewed for you. Now, if it was build quality problems, that's different. But I can tell you, based on my experience and the experience of thousands of people who reported basically directly in the community about their experience, there is a disparity. There is a very clear-cut disparity in how things are packed, how things are built. You can't buy this system. You cannot buy this system on iBUYPOWER's website. That already recommends shopping directly on their website. Anyway, I think I've dug deep enough for my own grave here. But none of the things that I say are shot from the hip. When it comes to something like this, where someone's going to trust my words, I put a lot of thought into it. And my videos are long because I thoroughly explain myself. A lot of comments that come in are because they didn't watch the whole thing, because I can't really expect people to watch the whole thing of my videos. You and I can definitely relate on that one, Steve. I hope that this was clear enough. And here's what my recommendation would be, if that matters. Where I point people to is here usually. Now they do have a huge customizer when the configurator on here. There's a problem with that. I'll address that in a second. But this is usually where I point people to, right here. Just same-day ready PCs. These things ship out in a couple days. They're packed. They all have Instapack in them. They're all ready to ship, and they're all pretty good quality. Dual-channel memory. Nothing here with a 1650, although sometimes there is one that's like $800 and is a 1650. They can cost a little more than through retailers, but that's because they have generally some better quality. Yes, I see it. There's a lot of glass here, a lot of glass, but that can just pop right off the front panel. That's what I tell people to do. Just take the front panel off. Every ready system, same-day ready system, has Instapack by default. But if you customize a system, use their configurator to do it, you got to go all the way to the bottom. Thank you, MX Master Mouse, for letting me do that very quickly. You got to go all the way down here and choose the Instapack for $19. That's ridiculous. iBUYPOWER, I've been saying this for over a year now. This is a given. However, they recently added an option that you mentioned in your own video. Ship the video card uninstalled and packaged separately. It actually costs -$20, and they make you agree, like, hey, you're saying you're going to install the graphics card yourself. Are you cool with that? Yeah, that's going to do it. I mean, I think I've talked enough. Boy, oh boy, did I talk enough. I hope you guys understand. I hope I've made it clear. I love Gamers Nexus. And Steve, if you watched through this whole damn thing, thank you, man. And thank you for watching that interview and pointing out where you felt I was wrong. Because guess what? That was the right thing to do. I appreciate that, and it sparks a dialogue. You know, the discourse is important. And thank you guys for watching always. Thank you for watching the channel. Of course, join me on stream every Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday. I'll help you out one-on-one. And guess what, guys? Out of freaking nowhere, I hit partner. What the hell? I got no email. It was just sitting in my settings. Like, agree to the partnership agreement for Twitch. I was like, yeah, all right, sure. And now I got a little check mark. Just like that. But thank you guys for getting me there. Thank you so much. And I'm going to give away a PC soon. So keep an eye out for that review. That's going to do it for today. This is a longer video than I intended it to be. I hope that that you guys felt I was fair. And I hope that from this point on, that you guys hold the people you look up to a higher standard. That is what I will always encourage. And if it includes criticizing me with some constructive criticism, I welcome it. All right, guys. See you later tonight. Till then, take care. Oh my God. Oh my God. I hope this is not a mistake. Is this a mistake? Oh God. Just stop the recording.